Watch this before you give up on the thing that you've been quietly thinking about quitting. The gym, the business, the channel, the book that you stopped writing, the language that you stopped practicing. Because I think most of us, when we set our goals, we treat them like a final destination, like a finish line that we keep our eyes on so hard that we forget the actual thing that gets us there. So we look for shortcuts. We buy into the next get rich quick scheme. We buy a new nutrition course. We download a new language learning app, hoping that this will get us there 10 times faster. I picked up a book recently. It's called Focus on the Process by Thibaut Meurisse, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly because I don't speak French. But however, it's not a book about productivity, but it's a book about why most of us quit right before the part that matters to us. Let's start with why we're obsessed with the wrong thing. Here is the core idea of the book. The process is the ultimate goal, and the outcome that we're chasing is just the logical result of it. He writes, the process is the goal. Success in any area of our lives is always the result of a process. Nobody wakes up an NBA player. Nobody wakes up a successful entrepreneur. Nobody wakes up fluent in a language. Every single person who reached the thing they want went through a process that took time, effort, and consistency. But here's what we do instead. We want to lose weight without changing our lifestyle. We want to make money without doing the hard work that earns it. We want the relationship without going on dates that actually get us there. We want the result without the process that creates it. And it doesn't work. It never worked, and it's not going to start working just because we found a new shortcut. The cycle that makes you quit. Here is the part of the book that I think it explains exactly why you're considering giving up right now. Meurisse calls it the cycle of excitement, and it has 4 stages. Let's start with stage 1. Initial excitement. You start something new and you're motivated, you're excited. You see fast progress for a few weeks, maybe a few months. Everything feels exciting. Then you get into stage 2, the plateau. Progress slows down. It seems like you're going backward instead of forward. You're doing the same things, but the result stops showing up and you start doubting yourself. Is this working? Why aren't I seeing results? What's wrong with me? And this is exactly where I am at right now when it comes to my YouTube channel. Like, I'm putting a lot of effort and time into making these YouTube videos, but it looks like nothing is working. But after reading this book, I realized that maybe it's just a plateau, like it's just a part of the process. And this is exactly where most people quit before they get into stage 3, the breakthrough. If you push through the plateau, something shifts. You notice real improvement again. It seems like you've leveled up. And then finally, you get into stage 4, back to excitement. And the cycle repeats. You will go through this cycle again and again for every meaningful goal you pursue. And here's the part that matters. Most people give up right at stage 2, right before the breakthrough, right when they're very closest to the thing they've been working toward. The author writes, many people give up too soon, too close to a breakthrough. Don't do the same thing. Push through to success. Even the book's writer himself was facing plateau. In the book, he explained that he decided to become a full-time writer, and he committed to keep writing for 3 years, saying that if by April 2020 things weren't going well, his efforts weren't paying off, he would quit. But interestingly, his writing career took off exactly around April 2020, right at the end of his 3 years commitment. So if you are in a plateau right now, that's not proof you're failing. That's the most predictable part of the process. Stop comparing where you started. There is another piece of this that I think is just as important. We judge ourselves by our results. We compare ourselves to other people and feel behind when we fall short. Meurisse makes a point that completely reframes this. He says, where we start is irrelevant. All that matters is that we stick to the process and keep improving. Other people on their journey, you are on yours. Your only job is to follow the process and trust that it will get you there. not to measure your chapter 5 against someone else's chapter 20. The moment you stop asking, why am I not further, and start asking, am I being consistent with my own process, everything gets quieter, less pressure, less comparison. Start smaller than you think you need to. So how do you actually build a process that you will stick to? Start small. Smaller than feels meaningful. Smaller than feels like it's doing anything. Walk for 10 minutes. Do 10 push-ups. Write 1 paragraph. Practice the language for 10 minutes. Tiny actions performed consistently for a long period of time can generate enormous momentum and lead to extraordinary results. The intensity doesn't matter at the start, but consistency does. Because when you start big, you rely on motivation to sustain it, and motivation runs out. But when you start small enough that skipping it feels like silly, you can sustain it even on the days that you don't like it. Ultimately, we don't become extraordinary by doing extraordinary things, but by doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. Now let's talk about why consistency becomes who you are. Because consistency is not just a productivity tactic. It becomes part of your identity. What matters most isn't what people think we can do, but what we think we can do. And it all starts by upgrading our identity. When you fail to reach a goal, it's rarely a capability issue. It's mostly an identity issue because you don't yet see yourself as someone who follows through, so you don't. But every time you stick to the process, especially on the days you don't want to, you're not just making progress toward your goal. You're becoming someone who follows through. And once that becomes who you are, not something you're trying to do, but who you are, the goal stops being the hard part. And that's exactly something happened to me back when I was learning English. Like, yes, at first, it was my goal. It was my goal to speak English fluently. But right now, it's part of who I am. It's part of my identity. And I use it every single day as a part of me. It's not a goal anymore. So if you've been thinking about quitting the gym, the channel, the business, the relationship that you're trying to repair, the skill that you've been trying to learn, I just want you to ask yourself one question before you do. Am I failing, or am I just in the plateau before the breakthrough, about to give up on the part that was always going to be hard? Mercy closes the book with this. The answer to your struggle is almost always to focus on the process. Drop a comment and tell me what is one thing you've been thinking about quitting. I'd love to know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Bye.